buddy of mine just got quoted $2,200. Not for an engine rebuild, not for a transmission. $2,200 to replace the touchscreen in his 2019 RAV4. The screen went black one morning, and suddenly his climate control doesn't work. His backup camera's gone. His radio's dead. Because Toyota decided every single function in that vehicle should run through one fragile glass panel. Meanwhile, his neighbor drives a 2004 Tacoma. Same brand, no screen, no subscriptions, no monthly fees. And the thing just works, every single day. There's a reason a growing number of informed buyers are quietly scooping up cars from a very specific era. And once you understand why, you'll never look at a modern dashboard the same way again. Here's what I've been noticing. And I'm not the only one. If you spend any time in enthusiast forums, mechanic communities, or fleet management circles, you'll see the same pattern. People aren't just holding on to their older vehicles, they're actively hunting for more of them. Specifically, cars built roughly between 2002 and 2006. Give or take a couple years, depending on the manufacturer. And these aren't collectors looking for pristine garage queens. These are daily drivers, commuter cars, work trucks, vehicles that people are putting real miles on by choice in 2026. The term floating around is pre-screen cars. Vehicles built before touchscreen infotainment systems became standard. Before every function got funneled through a central display. Before your car became, essentially, a smartphone on wheels, with all the problems that come with it. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't some anti-technology rant. Modern cars have genuinely impressive safety features, and we'll talk about those trade-offs honestly. But there's a specific set of advantages that pre-screen vehicles have. Advantages that are becoming more valuable every single year, as the auto industry pushes further into territory that a lot of buyers didn't sign up for. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening. So let's start with the one that makes people the angriest. Subscription fees for features that are already physically installed in your car. This isn't hypothetical. This is happening right now across multiple major manufacturers. BMW tested charging a monthly fee to use heated seats that were already built into the vehicle. The hardware was sitting right there under the leather. You paid for the car. You paid for the seat. But if you wanted it to actually get warm, that's extra, per month. Now BMW caught massive backlash and pulled back on that specific feature. But they didn't abandon the model. The 2026 BMW iX3 still offers the 360-degree parking camera as a subscription feature. Volkswagen is charging $22 a month to unlock 27 extra horsepower through a software toggle. Horsepower that the engine already produces. They're just throttling it until you pay. Tesla removed auto steer from the base Model 3 and Model Y entirely. If you want it back, you're looking at $99 a month or $9.99 a year for the full self-driving package. Toyota's charging $15 a month for real-time traffic data on the RAV4's navigation. Mazda locks remote start behind a $120 annual connected services fee. Mercedes is experimenting with subscription-based acceleration improvements. And here's what really gets me. New Jersey and New York have actually had to pass legislation, actual laws, to try to stop automakers from charging you monthly fees to use hardware you already own. Think about that. The practice got so aggressive that state governments had to intervene. Now. Think about a 2004 Honda Accord. Every feature in that car, yours. Forever. No login, no subscription, no server that needs to stay online. You turn the knob, the heat comes on. You press the button, the windows go down. Nobody can take that away from you with a firmware update. That's the first piece of the loophole. Here's the second piece. And honestly, this one's even more unsettling. General Motors got hit with a 5-year ban from the Federal Trade Commission. The reason? They were collecting detailed data about where their customers drove, how they drove, when they drove, through the OnStar Connected Services System, and selling that information, including insurance companies. Let me say that again. People were paying GM a monthly subscription for OnStar, and GM was taking the data generated by that subscription and selling it to third parties who could use it to raise those customers' insurance premiums. You were literally paying for the privilege of being surveilled. And the GM isn't alone. Modern connected vehicles are constantly transmitting data. Your location history, your driving patterns, your speed habits, how hard you brake. Some manufacturers can even detect how many passengers are in the vehicle. A study from the Mozilla Foundation called "Cars the Worst Category of Product for Privacy They Had Ever Reviewed." Worse than smart speakers, worse than fitness trackers, worse than social media apps. Pre-screen cars don't have cellular modems. They don't have telematic systems. They don't phone home to anyone. Your 2003 Camry doesn't know where you went last Tuesday. And it certainly isn't telling your insurance company about it. That's not a bug. For a growing number of people, that's the entire point. Alright, let's talk about money. Because this is where the math gets really interesting. Car repair costs jumped 15% year over year in 2025. That's the steepest annual increase ever recorded by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average trip to a repair shop now costs $838. And collision repairs? The average is $4,730. But here's what's driving those numbers up. It's not engines, it's not transmissions, it's electronics. A study from Sadie found that repairs to advanced driver assistance features, your blind spot monitors, your automatic braking sensors, your parking cameras, add 37% to a repair bill. One damaged sensor behind a bumper can add $1,500 or more to what should have been a minor fender bender. Modern vehicles can have up to 150 electronic control units, 150 tiny computers, all networked together, all dependent on each other. When one fails, it can cascade. And the labor side? Mechanics who can work on these systems are in short supply. For every 3 technicians retiring, only 1 new tech enters the field. The ones who do have the training charge accordingly, and their labor now makes up about 60% of the average repair bill. Now compare that to a pre-screen vehicle. A 2005 Ford Crown Victoria, a 2003 Toyota 4Runner, a 2004 Honda Civic. These cars have maybe a dozen control modules. Most mechanical systems operate independently. You don't need a factory diagnostic subscription to change the brake pads. You don't need to recalibrate 3 cameras after replacing a windshield. A decent set of hand tools and a repair manual gets you through 80% of common maintenance. The parts? Still abundant, still cheap. The aftermarket for popular models from this era is massive because millions of these vehicles were produced. A water pump for a 2004 Accord runs you about $40. Try replacing the water pump on a 2024 with integrated electronic cooling. You're looking at 3 to 5 times that, plus diagnostic time. And this connects directly to something mechanics across the country are fighting about right now. The right to repair battle. Modern cars are increasingly locked down. Proprietary diagnostic software. Dealer-only service tools. Some manufacturers are using telematics to funnel customers directly to dealership service departments before independent shops even know something's wrong. Even basic maintenance, things like replacing brake pads on certain models, now requires expensive proprietary software to reset the electronic parking brake system. You physically cannot complete the repair without it. For pre-screen cars, this entire problem doesn't exist. The systems are mechanical. The diagnostic tools are universal. Any competent independent mechanic can work on them. That alone saves owners hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars over the life of the vehicle. Now, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about the other side of this. Because there are genuine trade-offs, and pretending otherwise would make this whole conversation useless. Modern safety features save lives. Automatic emergency braking, electronic stability control, blind spot, monitoring, adaptive cruise. These technologies have measurably reduced accidents and fatalities. A 2004 vehicle does not have these systems, and that matters. Fuel economy is another factor. A 2005 SUV is going to drink more gas than its 2025 equivalent. Period. If fuel costs are a major part of your budget, that difference adds up. Some pre-screen models are developing parts scarcity for specific components, not the common wear items. Those are still easy to find. But certain body panels, interior trim pieces, and model-specific electronics can be harder to source. The popular models hold up better here, which is why what you buy matters. And let's be real about comfort. Modern vehicles are quieter, smoother, and more refined. You're giving up creature comforts when you go back 20 years. So this isn't a blanket recommendation. It's a calculation. And the people making this move are weighing all of these factors and still coming out on the side of pre-screen vehicles for specific use cases. Daily commuters, second vehicles, work trucks, vehicles where simplicity and low operating costs matter more than having the latest tech. If you're thinking about this, and based on the search trends, a lot of you are, here's what the people who've been doing this for years will tell you. Target the high-volume models, the ones that sold millions of units. The 2002-2006 Toyota Camry, the Honda Accord from the same era, the Ford Crown Victoria and its Mercury Grand Marquis Twin, the Lexus LS430 if you want something premium, the Chevy Silverado and Ford F-150 from the early 2000s. These models have enormous parts ecosystems and they're mechanically well understood. Look for the naturally aspirated engines. No turbos from this era. Turbo technology in the early 2000s wasn't as refined as what came later, and those systems tend to be the first things to fail at high mileage. Inspect for rust, especially if you're in the northern states. 20-year-old vehicles in salt belt regions can have significant structural corrosion that's invisible from the outside. Get a pre-purchase inspection from an independent mechanic who knows the specific platform. This costs about $100 to $150 and can save you from a catastrophic mistake. And move with some urgency. The prices on clean, low-rust examples of these vehicles are climbing. A well-maintained 2004 Camry that would have been a $3,000 car 5 years ago is now routinely listed for $5,000 to $7,000. The market is starting to figure out what smart buyers already know. Look, the auto industry spent the last 15 years telling us that more screens, more connectivity, more software integration was the future. And in a lot of ways it is. But they didn't tell us about the subscription fees. They didn't tell us our driving data would be sold to insurance companies. They didn't mention that a cracked screen would take out your entire climate control system, or that a fender bender would cost $5,000 because of hidden sensors. The pre-screen loophole isn't really a loophole at all. It's just what car ownership used to be. You bought the vehicle, you owned everything in it, you maintained it with common tools, and nobody was monetizing your commute. The fact that we now need a special term for that tells you everything. If this shifted your perspective on what a smart vehicle purchase actually looks like, hit subscribe. I'm going deep on which specific pre-screen models are the best long-term holds, and you don't want to miss that breakdown. Drop a comment and tell me, are you holding on to an older vehicle on purpose, or is this the first time you've thought about it this way? I want to hear your experience.